I got sound? Got audio? Can you hear me? Am I still muted? Good. All right, you guys, I want to give an update. Let me make sure that everything's good. Let me know if Twitch audio and video is good, and somebody peep me in Facebook and let me know if the live is there and the audio is working. So I'll wait until that's gone before I start. Twitch is good, thank you. Facebook good, okay. So first I'm going to start with a little update on what happened today. So I went out to the assembly at the Tom McCall Waterfront Park. It was a gathering, a protest, if you will, the group was called Oregonians for Peace. There's several hundred of us out there that showed up. Live streamed there, met a couple people there, and it was an amazing event. It was everything that I've been trying to push towards and that I align with recently. People were talking about creating dialogue between different groups, and they were talking about doing that peacefully and ending the violence and coming together and fixing the ills that are going on right now. After that, when that ended, I stood around and three other streamers were all facing each other. We had a pretty good conversation for quite a while. I had never met those guys before. After that, one of those streamers was Portland Andy. I met him for the first time today. I've had a lot of people in my chat and his chat trying to get us together and meet up because we both are really strongly for free speech. And then, once we finished that dialogue, we decided to walk from the waterfront into downtown. We went over to 7-Eleven first to get some water. It's a pretty hot day today. And then we walked over to Lonsdale Park. That's the park near the Justice Center in front of the Marco Hatfield Federal Building. And we sat down on the bench. Then we started noticing a group of about 12 black bloc type Antifa with their helmets. I think that they were the same group that arrived at the waterfront towards the end of the event today. They kind of stood off to the north a little bit and just kind of heckled people a little bit. But they started noticing us sitting at the bench, started walking to us slowly, so we decided to get up and walk away. We walked to about 7-Eleven, and then they started picking up pace following us. And so we took a little bit jog. I was trying to get my cell phone and my gear all stowed away. I was not streaming at the time because I shut down my stream in order to try to handle some technical things and to catch up on some social media stuff. We got to the intersection at Pioneer Mall and the Apple Store. I was at the southeast corner of that intersection, and the group approached us. There was one man that seemed to be the leader of him. He was if you guys, any of you were watching Portland Andy's live stream, this man was the guy with the black hoodie sweatshirt that was faded. It said Miami on the front of it. He came up to me. I was trying to decide how I was going to interact with that situation. Didn't really want to try to back off or run away. He came up to me and he said, square up to me, bro, square up to me. I'm standing eye to eye to him, and I said, I don't want to fight you. I've got no reason to fight you. He said, I don't want to fight you. I want to kill you. I'm going to kill you. And then he starts trying to get into my bubble, so I start backing off. And then the group of, I don't know, I'm thinking there was 12, maybe 8 to 12, definitely 8, started following us and started speeding up and slowing down. They were breaking up and going around different directions and meeting up on blocks, trying to surround us. Me and Andy started running at some point, and through that interaction, there was one point where a black BMW drove up and threw an M80, we think, and some firecrackers at us. And they were coordinating an attack, obviously, and they knew where we were. That car knew where to be. We ran around the block a little bit more. I tried to call 911. The 911 was busy for too long, and I hung up. We ran into a hotel front lobby that was open. A lot of the businesses downtown are shut down and the doors are locked. We were able to get into a hotel. The manager was kind enough to lock the front doors and shut down the entryway there for us. Police did end up arriving. The Antifa types at that time. The Antifa type at that time scattered. There was 3 of them left. I know that one of the police went after them, and we were able to get saved by some friendly people that were watching Andy stream, just be able to help us out. So some peaceful saviors came in and got us. So that was all. Any pictures that would happen are on live stream. I came up one point at my live and got one guy on that he was claiming he wasn't part of it, but he was on a skateboard rolling behind us, following the whole thing. He was kind of skating back and forth between us and the Antifa that was following us. And again, I don't know if they seemed like they were organized in actual, maybe a group, but they were just in black bloc and coming after us and threatening us. They knew both of our names. They called me villain. They were calling out for Andy, and they were targeting us. So we got out of there and made it to safety, and that's what that happened. It made me furious, and I'm pretty upset right now with a lot of things. You know, I've been documenting these protests and the riots and the civil unrest for more than 40 days now. And I'm tired of it. And I want to say something to the left, to the violent left. If you truly are working for a better world and you think this is the way to go about it, you are radicalizing a large portion of the country away from you. You are working counter to your goal. Many, many, many people are getting sick and tired of the violence, sick and tired of the destruction, sick and tired of the threats, and I'm tired of it. And I've been radicalized by this. I'm not saying that I want to go out and do violence, but my focus is morefold now to stop what's happening in our country. I've always been kind of a punk. I run my mouth. I've always talked a lot. And I've always had somewhat of an issue with authority. And in the past, I've had an issue, a love-hate relationship with police and war and the military. I've never really flat out hated them or just questioned some things. But you know what? I love my country. I love the police. I love our soldiers. You have pushed me to that stance. You're attacking buildings, attacking people, ruining businesses, graffiti, vandalism. I don't want anything to do with that. I'm not a perfect person. I've had my misdeeds and I have my faults. And if you want to cancel me, I'm sure you'll find all kinds of things you can cancel for me if you could. But I'm trying to move forward, and I want things to be better. I want the world to be better. I'm tired of seeing things every once in a while like George Floyd. I want stuff like that to end. I want injustice to end. I want inequality to end. I want the world to be a better place too. But I don't think burning down cities is a way to do that. I don't think that intimidating people or refusing to talk to people is a way to do that. So I'm going to ask Americans that are wanting peace on both sides of the fence, you guys have to speak up. There was an event today at Tom McCall Waterfront in Portland, and a couple hundred people showed up. There needs to be a couple thousand people show up for that. That was a movement about peace. We were there to try to talk about creating dialogue between different groups, trying to listen to other groups, trying to share our thoughts with other groups, and to do so in peace. And then directly after that, in broad daylight, in the middle of downtown Portland, a major American city that's been mostly a peaceful city for a long time, there's an open gang of a dozen people, roughly, chasing people through town openly in the daytime, threatening to kill them. I don't want that to be our country. I don't want it to move that way. So those of you that are tired of this have got to make a presence. You've got to speak out and say what your beliefs are. You've got to speak out for peace. You've got to stand up for it. Because maybe it's only happening to a few of us today. People like me, people like Andy that are streaming and openly expressing our views, opening, trying to document things. But what about in a couple years? What about when your children start getting of age, or when you have children, or when they become adults? What's the country going to be like down the road if we don't stop stuff like this from happening now? You know? So I want to call out some politicians, because this stuff we're seeing in these big cities is being allowed to happen. The police are having their hands tied, and people are getting booked and just released and not prosecuted for their crimes. And politicians are making those decisions. This is not an organic thing that's just a powerful force on the street that's overpowering our municipalities. There's politicians that are making these decisions and are actively allowing these things to happen. So since I'm in Portland today, and I'm in the Pacific Northwest, I'm going to focus on the Pacific Northwest, but specifically Portland today. So Ted Wheeler, you don't get to be the mayor anymore, man. What are you doing? This is our city, and you're letting bands of gangs trying to kill people run the city in broad daylight. Where is your leadership? Is this what you want? Or are you impotent to do what you want? Are you incapable of keeping the city safe? Or are you not concerned with keeping the city safe? Kate Brown, governor of Oregon, where have you been on this today, huh? Are you concerned with safety? Are you concerned with political gains? Are you trying to move your party and your agenda forward? Or are you trying to keep citizens safe? Joanne Hardesty, I believe that's how you say your last name. I've seen you at speeches in Portland recently, and you don't seem to be for the peace. You seem to be speaking very divisively and pitting people against themselves. And you even said that you weren't for the Portland culture in one of your speeches. You said something along the lines of, I'm not that nice Portland, that polite Portland. Well, what are you doing here in Portland then, huh? What are you doing here in our city trying to change our ways and take away the peace here? We like the polite Northwest. We like the safety here. And again, I want all people to be safe. I want all communities to be able to rise up and better their lives and their communities and the families that I'm at a loss of words here. I'm a little worked up. I want everybody to be safe. I want everybody to have better lives. I want less violence in the neighborhoods where violence is prone, you know? Oregon for Peace. That rally invited a bunch of politicians and none of them showed up. Why would you not show up for a peace rally? Ted Wheeler, you weren't there. Kate Brown, you weren't there. Joanne Hardesty, you weren't there. Not one politician was there. A rally for peace after 40-something days of riots and violence and death threats. There are people being killed across the country. Officers are being killed. Children are being killed because of these riots. And not one of you politicians showed up to a peace rally? Get out of office. Get out. You know? But those of you who are watching, you can't be silent, you know? This is going to keep growing unless the silent majority that is for peace speaks up. Even if you just show up at these events. Patriots, soldiers, veterans, you got to provide your services for security at these places so people can feel safe to come. I know more than a few people that were at the event today mentioned that they and other people didn't feel safe coming to it. It was very peaceful and very safe. There were some very, very experienced veterans there making sure that if anything did happen, they would keep it safe. Pretty worked up. And I think you would be too if you got a gang of 12 people chasing you through a city in broad daylight in what was recently a very, very safe place and threatening to kill you. So I want to talk about radicalization. So as I spoke in myself, and I spoke about how there are many, many Americans being pushed away from the center right now by the left and their radical violence and their refusal share ideas, their refusal to come to the table of discussion. But I'm also seeing some interesting things over my time in the last 40-something days at the riots. There are a handful of people that I've seen there that were very gentle, peaceful people, very kind. And in the last several days, less than a week, I've seen many of those people turn to violence, and they've dropped what I saw as their normal personality, and there just seem to be different people than I got to know over several weeks. And there's just this anger and this rage rising up in them, and they're getting swept up in this movement to where we're labeling certain large portions of the country and our peacekeepers as the enemy that we can target all of our rage and pour it into. And I don't want to see that kind of radicalization either. We need to come together. So I'm not giving up. I'm not going to let you threaten me. We need people that are going to stay out there and speak the truth. And you can't just threaten to kill me and get me to silence my voice. So I'm going to need protection. For you patriots out there, I need you to reach out to me. And I want to go out tonight. I want to live stream like I normally do. And I'd like some of you to come there with me. And I need some of you to reach out for me for ongoing protection and security. And I'm going to need your help, you guys. So that was all pretty much off the cuff. I had a little note card here that just had some ideas on. So as you can see, I'm still kind of worked up, and it's been a long week, and these riots are weighing on me, and the groups online that are starting to target me and slander me and make me out to be something I'm not. You know that gang activity and targeted collective crime is a pretty big issue that doesn't get winked at by the federal government. So I would suggest that you guys that are doing those things reevaluate your behavior and become reasonable. I'm overwhelmed. I'm like a day and a half backlogged on catching up on my social media replies. But I'm going to get off here now. That was my rant. Let's make the America that we love and that we've cherished remain a safe place for the future. Don't give up. Don't give in. Speak up. Learn to speak kindly to those you oppose with. We need to have the conversations. We need to talk to each other. It's paramount. We have to talk to each other. We have to end the divide in this country. All right. I'll be live streaming later. I'm going to reach out to some of you. Please reach out to me. God bless America.